esteemed transitioners. Today we are grateful for the community of practice we have co-created with you. Together we have been cultivating the observations that will inform the world we want to live in. We have been doing the work that reconnects one relationship at a time, incubating the possibilities if we can only nourish those seeds to bloom in the spring. In the last decade, the Transition Network has harvested many successes, sometimes in the form of lessons, observing and learning each time. Transition US's unique approach is a community-based, positive, empowering, solutions-oriented, and systemic response to a country, and by extension, a world that remains polarized. We are the antidote we have been waiting for. We are an international learning network in more than 1,000 communities and in more than 50 countries worldwide, sharing strategies, best practices, and replicable models for rebuilding their communities and ecosystems, learning from our shared challenges and successes. Our network has become an incredible repository of solutions to get us through the post-peak oil world towards the world we long for. Mr. David Cobb of Cooperation Humboldt famously said, "We must provoke and win a peaceful revolution for a just, sustainable, and cooperative society if we are to survive." So what does that look like? Together, we have been able to identify the pivot points of transition with equity in mind, as we have hosted conversations about, and I start with Zone Zero when listing these things, inner resilience, especially in relation to social justice, developing a practice of self-care and self-awareness to enable us to show up in healthy and constructive ways, and to give and receive feedback despite the difficulties we face in our daily lives and as a society. Reskilling, relearning the skills we need to be able to live low-impact, resilient lifestyles. Examples in food production and preservation, fermentation, composting, and soil building, repair cafes, etc. Leadership and group dynamics, supporting ordinary people to become the kind of leaders these extraordinary times demand of us. Building a healthy movement culture, learning how to collaborate and cooperate, receive feedback, transform conflict, decolonize movement culture, and build. Zero waste, learning and modeling how to live a lifestyle that is more joyful and abundant while using fewer resources than we currently consume. Examples include plastic bag bans, repair cafes, fix-it clinics, community compost programs, creating a culture that values connection over things. Garden education, food systems, and healthy soil. Rebuilding food systems and local economies that are rooted in the health of the ecosystem from the bottom up. Projects include carbon sequestration, planting trees, gleaning, mini gardens and community gardens, crop and seed exchanges, lawn conversions, permablitzes, work parties, eat local directories and awareness like farmers markets, urban farms, food system mapping, investments in local agricultural businesses, gardening as a practice of inner and outer resilience, teaching children about life cycles and the awe of nature. Community engagement and resilience, bringing neighbors together to learn, build relationships, and take practical actions, especially needed for local governments working on climate action plans. From disconnection to connection, to life, to nature, to each other, building community gathering potlucks, crop swaps, neighborhood projects like Transition Streets and Ready Together, community conversions, visioning, mapping, replicable models for community engagement like reskilling events, movie nights, speaker series, repair cafes, and gleaning projects. And civic engagement, getting involved in ways that matter, and obtaining results without feeling drained. Emergency preparedness and disaster relief, Ready Together neighborhood preparedness handbooks, resilience hubs programs by the NorCal Resilience Network, mutual aid and disaster relief organizing. Water, conservation and efficiency for drought-stressed areas, see Transition Streets water saving additions, watershed health. Energy, powering down, using less, building decentralized renewable energy systems. Examples include Power Down Week, Solarize campaigns, energy retrofitting, community clean energy projects. Alternative transportations and slow travel to reduce energy consumption, bike and pedestrian advocacy, electrical vehicles, shifting a relationship to long-distance travels, prioritizing local regional vacations rather than long-distance or overseas trips, traveling long distances by train, bike, or fuel-efficient vehicles as opposed to airplanes. Housing, building, energy retrofits, natural buildings, placemaking, city repair, and village building convergences, community land trusts, co-housing, and the group dynamic skills to successfully cohabitate. Economic transitions. This is a big one. Community-based models to shift our economies, the way we manage the resources of our home, away from extraction and exploitation towards cooperation and generation. Practical examples include various models of local investing, public banking or public banks, support for resilient and regenerative entrepreneurship, community-owned land trusts, and working on cooperatives. If Transition US were better equipped to rise to the occasion, we would lead with our strength to amplify our work that reconnects. So much of what we can do is closer to ground zero, but we need to amplify the solutions by communicating more effectively, stacking functions, learning from the edges. We want to showcase our best solutions on video, creating a string of successful narratives around the country. We have been preparing for just this moment to represent the sustainable world that we all know is possible. However, we are currently under-resourced to meet the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead. The work of creating a framework for a just, sustainable world needs to be funded for it to take flight. It is time to galvanize our networks, one relationship at a time, with the knowledge that this moment is requiring us to elevate the solutions. What we do at this moment to help amplify this message matters. And we thank you in advance for your time and patience as we co-create the world we know is possible. Today requests that you do one of two things, give or get. Please first help us disseminate this request. Help us elevate the urgency that this moment is requiring of us as stewards. We are grateful for your time. If you can, please also give, no matter how small. A little bit counts as the results are cumulative. If we can start to design our small, slow solutions, replacing broad patterns with finer details, integrating experience into solutions, using the edges to use and value diversity, we can store the energy to obtain a yield, then self-regulate, accept feedback, and produce no waste by creatively using and responding to change. We've shared this language before, and design theory before, but it felt like we were just practicing. Now, let's dig deeper.